Hello, everyone. It is I on It's Time to Vent. We are going to conclude a short series about the spirit spouse. We talked about how to determine if you have a spirit spouse. We've also talked about what can keep a spirit spouse around and how to be delivered. So if you have not seen that video, I encourage you to follow this page, and you'll be able to look at the other videos that we have regarding the spirit spouse. So if you don't know what a spirit spouse is, it is a spirit that tries to marry a male or female in the realms of the spirit, and its purpose is, if they are married, to attempt to destroy the marriage. If they are single, to hinder that individual from marrying their God-given spouse. Okay, so it's agenda, if they're single, to keep them single. And so if for some reason, God has promised you marriage and it seems it's been years, and in your spirit that something has to be off, chances are it could be the fact that you have a spirit spouse. So if you want to know if you have one, feel free to check out the other videos. So, ways that a spirit spouse can enter. One of the ways is it can be passed down through the bloodline, whether it's through sin or witchcraft. So let me explain sin. How can it be passed down through the bloodline through sin? Well, if, let's say, your forefathers were very sexually active, if there was a lot of sexual activity going on in your family way before you came on the scene, that can open the door to the spirit spouse attacking your life. Secondly, it can be passed down through the bloodline through witchcraft, which is basically saying that some of your ancestors, or maybe an enemy of your ancestors, what they did, they went to a witch doctor. They wanted to gain some advantage, revenge, prestige, or power. Instead of going to God, they went to the witch doctor, a witch or warlock, and what they did was, they was like, hey, I want to get to this level in life. What do I need to do? And so normally what the witch or warlock would say, oh, well, we'll give you that power. We'll give you that prestige. We'll give you that job. We'll give you that gift and ability. But in exchange for that, you need to give me your third generation. You need to give me your fifth generation. And normally that particular generation that was rendered or given up in exchange for that power and prestige and authority, they're normally attacked. For some generations, they may be attacked with sickness. It seems like everybody's sick, right? Or it can be, poverty, or it can be a spirit spouse. And to determine whether it was a spirit spouse is, nobody's married, or if they get married is not a long marriage. They normally get divorced quickly, or they're not being faithful in their marriage, or you have a lot of people, they're in relationship after relationships, but there's no commitment, they're not getting married. So those are some ways to determine whether the spirit spouse came through the bloodline. And the crazy thing is, you can be pure, holy, living for the Lord, but yet because your ancestors were sinning, being promiscuous, or your ancestors was engaging in levels of witchcraft, which exchanged your you and your relatives' destinies, when it comes to marriage, then it gives that demon a legal right to come in. Okay. Also, if, let's say, you yourself is being promiscuous, if you're engaging in sexual practices or using particular toys to arouse you, or if you're arousing yourself intently, okay, that can open the door to a spirit spouse. Okay, it can open the door to a spirit spouse. Also, if, let's say, an individual is watching porn, or they're watching movies that have detailed sexual content. Normally most movies would say it has strong sexual content before you watch the movie or in the back of the movie. But there's some movies where it's like 80% of the scenes are sex. They're just having a lot of sex on there. Or if you're reading books that have a lot of high sexual content. There's some authors that have became famous for writing their sexual detailed orgies or sexual detailed content where at least 80% of the book is really sex. And people buy it because they love that imagination. They love entertaining what could be, right, in their life. And so those things can still open the door to a spirit spouse. Also, if let's say you're entertaining celebrities in your dreams or you're having sex in your dreams, that can open the door to a spirit spouse. And yes, to some people, especially if you're saved, it may seem harmless. Yeah, you've been alone for years and God has kept you for years, but you could at least get this amount of pleasure. No. Wait on the Lord. Wait on the Lord. God can keep you. He can definitely keep you, but you got to block those dreams. You can't entertain them, because if you entertain it long enough, it can open the door to a spirit spouse. Okay, and so when you do meet somebody, then you're wondering, why is it that, it just seems like you're not connecting with that person, and you just know good well that this person is a great potential. Because way back when, you gave the spirit spouse a legal right, and now they are married to you. The sex that they have with you in the dream may mean nothing to you, but just a little excitement but to them, they are forming a covenant. They're forming a covenant. And so if anybody else comes on in the scene, they're going to fight that person. They may try to even enter their dreams and tell them, leave you alone. Okay? All right? So because it's territorial spirits. Spirit spouses are territorial. You may not claim them, but I promise you, if you let them have sexual intercourse with you, if you let them in your life, or if they have some type of legal right through the bloodline, they will take ownership and they will use that legal right as much as they can until you take ownership and rise up in your God-given authority. They will do just that. Okay? So this is serious. This is not a game. This is not something to entertain. This is serious, okay? So don't entertain anything and any type of sexual encounters in the dreams. I don't care if it's a celebrity. I don't care if it's ex. I don't care with somebody you're in a relationship with and you think it's harmless. No, it's not. You're opening a door, if it's not already a door open, to the spirit spouse. They just don't want to marry you. They want to block you financially. They want to block you in marriage. They want to block your destiny. They want to destroy you in any way they can. But you got to deny it access. You have to. You really, 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 really have to. I can't stress that enough. You have to deny it access. It's not something, if that spirit has been there for a long period of time, and if you want to get delivered, tune into the other video. It's not just going to go away just like that. Sometimes they will, and sometimes they won't. Sometimes you got to be, willing to say, okay, we're going to fight this for a few months. We're going to fight this for a month. We're going to fight this for a few weeks. But don't give it access to come in, okay? Another way that the spirit spouse can enter in is through the laying on of hands. And I know people say, no, I love when people lay on their hands. That's fine. It's nothing wrong with that. But you need to make sure that you know the spirit of that individual. You need to have your discernment on, okay? So if the Lord is speaking to you and saying, don't go up on that altar, you better obey him. I had a situation that happened a few years ago. I'll never forget it. And the Lord, and I was just learning my gifts and learning who I am in God. And, they had a nice revival. It was just blessed. It was a blessed revival. But then it was time to do an altar call. And it was the last day that they had it. And the Lord was trying to warn me not to go up there and let that person lay hands on me. I did it anyway, and I woke up throwing up, and I thought I threw up in the trash can, but I threw up on the pillow. And a friend of mine had the same dream. Okay, and he went up there before me, so I said, because he went up there, I'm gonna go up there. But now I've learned to trust my discernment. Now, this is not you getting paranoid, but know the spirit. Okay, know the spirit of the person. All right. So it can be through the laying on of hands by a perverse spirit. That's by somebody that may be struggling with lust, that is not being faithful in their marriage. They're being overshadowed by the spirit spouse, because they probably didn't confess it. They didn't seek deliverance or any of such thing as that. And so they have a strong spirit of lust. They are promiscuous themselves, whether you know or the pastor may know, but they're very gifted. But however, a lot of times, because of their lifestyle and their perverse lifestyle that has not been corrected, that they have not received deliverance from, when they lay hands on you, that can transfer that spirit spouse. Okay. Also an agent of Satan. This is somebody who is intentionally deceiving you. Their powers, whatever influence they have, did not come from God. I'll just say that it came from a witch doctor. It came from a type of witchcraft, and they know this is intentional, right? And so a lot of times what they're given to do, they'll give that type of recognition. They'll get a big church, they'll draw people, because some pastors would do witchcraft to keep members there. Okay, they literally go to a witch doctor and do forms of witchcraft to keep the members there, to keep them loyal to them. And so a lot of times, in exchange for this level of power and influence and authority, they are told, you got to lay hands on certain people. And when you lay hands, I'm going to transfer something. And so a lot of times in those cases, because they are an agent of Satan, I wouldn't say man or woman of God, but they are an agent of Satan, and every gift that they have, anything they do in the church is demonic, orchestrated. Is no God in it whatsoever, but nobody can tell unless they have discernment. So if they lay hands on you, that can transfer a spirit spouse. Okay, last but not least, it can be where somebody just is really jealous of you. They hate you for no reason, or maybe you did something to offend them and they're taking it to the extreme. And so a lot of times, through those channels of hate, unforgiveness, and resentfulness, jealousy, a person may say, you know what, especially if they hear of you being in a relationship, if they hear of that person wanting to marry you, they may go to a witch doctor, a witch or warlock, and say, you know what, we need to put a curse on this person because they don't want them to get married for some crazy reason. And so a lot of times that can be a way where that witch can send a spirit spouse. That's why a lot of times when God tells us in certain seasons to pray, we better obey him. He tell us to fast, because a lot of times we may not even have a clue of what somebody that may hate you, where you may be unaware of, will go to that extent to see you suffer, or to see you go back to where you was, or to back or to go back instead of forward, backwards instead of forward. It can also be through word curses. Someone is speaking over you. It's still associated with witchcraft, but a lot of times people accept word curses more than they accept witchcraft. Like, for instance, if someone is saying they're going to go to a witch doctor on you, you're going to take that very serious, right? But if someone is joking, say, girl, you ain't get no married, you girl, like, something like that, or man, you ain't getting married, man, you gonna be single forever. People don't understand that they are releasing word curses over you, especially if you're believing in God for a spouse, if you're believing in God to be married. Then what can happen is, if you don't block those words in the spirit realm, you're giving them permission to block your blessings. And so you got to be able to say, man, don't play with me like that, or look, man, I don't receive, don't joke like that, or however you communicate with them. You have to be willing to block it, and not only block it, but prevent it from happening again with that same person by setting healthy boundaries. Okay, you should be able to have relationships where you can set healthy boundaries. If you can't set healthy boundaries with people, then you need to leave them where the good Lord left them. Okay, you need to leave them right there, because those are not your people. Your people should understand that in life you have to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries. Okay. So that's one of the things that, those are the different ways that a spirit spouse can enter. If you would like to know whether you have a spirit spouse or not, feel free to check out the other video that was made a couple of days ago. If you want to know how to be delivered, I gave some keys of how you can be delivered and stay delivered. Okay. So I encourage you to check that out. Remember, the Lord loves you, and so do I. You have a blessed day, and stay tuned. If you have not followed the page, I encourage you to follow it at this time, and you'll be blessed. Bye-bye.